Welcome back to the show, my good friend, General Keith Kellogg, former U.S. Special Envoy for Ukraine, co-chair of the FPI Center for American Security. Keith Kellogg, welcome. Let me begin with this question. Is the war over? Is the war over with a big U.S. victory?
You know, Larry, it's good to be with you. Look, no, it's not. We're in a 2-week period that's going to be really interesting to watch. From the Iranian side, there's 4 people really involved in this. You've got the Supreme Leader, Khomeini. You've got the leader of their parliament, Kudlow. You've got the the Revolutionary Guards Corps commander, Vahidi. And you have their foreign minister, Arachi. Now, I think you're going to see Kudlow as leading the delegation that's going to come into Pakistan and do the negotiations. All 4 of those individuals are hardliners, especially Arachi, who's their foreign minister. In fact, he wrote a book on this. And he wrote a book about this marketplace bargaining. And you're going to see somebody like a rug merchant actually go in, and his parents were actually rug merchants, go into a bazaar and try to negotiations. They're going against a guy who basically wrote The Art of the Deal. So it's going to be this interesting conflict you're going to have between 2 negotiating teams. The Iranians are going to try to get the best out of it. Khalib's a hardcore guy. Arachi's a hardcore guy. They're not sending in any moderates. These people have been in the revolution for 47 years. So we have to expect that they're going to try and get the best deal out of it. So I think you're going to watch this thing for the next 2 weeks. I watched on television earlier today when John Roberts actually said, hey, this 10-point peace plan that they've sent out is basically going to get torn up. And he tore it up on the air. We don't know what they want. But I think one of the issues is the president's very clear that they will not keep any enriched uranium. I said last night that it looks like the IAEA can get involved so we don't put U.S. troops on the ground and get that enriched uranium out of there. But the whole card is still the president's. The whole card meaning at the end of 2 weeks, we can cut off their economic lifeline. We can seize Karg Island, which 90% of their oil comes through. We actually seize the islands, primarily Lanark Island in the Strait of Hormuz, and that's like the quarterback island that's got all the command and control on it, and we can neutralize all the other islands. So the end state is still not out there yet, and the president could do that. We're not talking about a regime change, as we say, from one group to another. We haven't seen that. We're looking for some moderates, and the 4 people I just mentioned, they are not moderates. So I am right now kind of holding my breath to see what our negotiators, the Vice President, Steve Witkoff, and Jared Kushner are going to come up with, because they're going against somebody who really have negotiated hardline for a period of years, over 40 years.
I understand that part, but, you know, our military forces are going to remain where they are. At least that is my understanding. It's not like we have a 2-week ceasefire and everybody's going home. Far from it. And if Iran misbehaves, or if they refuse to negotiate and make the necessary concessions, after all, they're the loser in this war, big time, then we may have to come back and bomb them again. But the war itself, I don't know, I don't want to mince words and get technical about it, but it just occurs to me that, okay, we're going to go back and forth on the negotiations. Additional bombing may be necessary. I don't know that it will, but it is possible, certainly. But maybe the bulk of this war is, in fact, over.
Well, yeah, sure it is, Larry. When you look at the target list that General Kane mentioned today, and the amount of sorties and the amount of bombs dropped, I think you're basically bombing railroad cars now. You're not bombing anything left to bomb. So what I would say is if the president wants to do something, and it's probably in the back of his mind, knowing him, that at the end he'll take the economic lifeline away from Iran, and that's Karg Island, which is their crown jewel, and he has the capacity to do that. They cannot defeat our military. Our military has proven itself that there's nothing that can stop them at all, that nothing the Iranians have are able to stop them, and they're not going to get anything new in the next 2 weeks. So we can do that, and I think it's up to them to make that decision. It's the question of the hardliners that you've got at the negotiations table, starting with Khomeini, the supreme leader, all the way down through Arachi, who's their foreign minister, and basically saying, are we going to live to fight another day? I think they may say, this is not going to be good for the next few years with President Trump. President Trump has done something, Larry, and you and I know it, that no other American president has done. He's actually a human action verb. He goes out there and he does things that the previous presidents have not done. And the last thing he can do is take their economic lifeline. And I'm sure he's willing to do that. He has the forces that can do it. They can go with the 82nd Airborne Division at Carg Island and use the Marines to open up the strait. It's right there in front of them. Our negotiators will make sure they understand that. And the hardliners are going to have to say, well, I understand that. I think one thing they do understand is real politics. And right now, we're in real politics.
Well, I'm looking at their list, you know, this crazy list, the Supreme National Security Council list of 10 items. I mean, I saw it last night and couldn't believe my eyes. Number 2, continue Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz. Who are they kidding? Number 3, acceptance that Iran can enrich uranium for its nuclear program. That's the whole point of the exercise. And they just got clobbered in this war. I mean, it may not be unconditional surrender, but I think it's going to be pretty close to that. But I guess here, let me put the question a little differently. Did Mr. Trump give up leverage by calling for a ceasefire? I mean, at some point, you need to have a ceasefire to talk about the terms of surrender, don't you?
Yeah, and I think the president's great about that. There's one thing he does. He talks to everybody, adversaries, friends, you name it, he talks to them. Look, I'm going to go back historically and tell you something that I think in the back of the president's mind, he wants to do something like this. 100 BC, the Romans and the Carthaginians fought 3 Punic Wars. Finally, in the 3rd Punic War, the Romans said, I'm tired of this. They went to Carthage. They burned it to the ground. And that's what I tell the Iranians. There's history that has done this before, and we're going to come out to you with Iran and basically destroy you. And I think that's in the back of Trump's mind. He's willing to do it. He's proven he's willing to do it. And I think those negotiators need to understand that the end game is out there for the president of the United States, and they're dealing with a guy they've never dealt with before. And that's a mistake on their part.
Well, that's the thing. Not even I was around for the Punic Wars, but I'm not bad on my ancient history. But, you know, it's almost as though Mr. Trump is daring Iran not to play ball. And we know we know all about the Iran stalling tactics. We know all about their delaying tactics. We know we've watched them for years under weaker presidents. And Mr. Trump is most assuredly aware of this, and probably so are the other negotiators, Witkoff and Kushner and J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio and whomever, Pete Hegseth, the whole gang of them, national security gang. Surely they know. That's why I just wonder out loud. I don't want to make an obsession about it, but I think if the war's not over, it's very close to being over. And I think that point has been missed today. I mean, here are the Democrats, or the War Powers Act. Oh, for heaven's sakes, they're all a bunch of defeatists, you know. At the very moment when America has done something remarkable, here come the Democrats to act like a bunch of defeatists. I'm not even going to deal with that. But even if there has to be another couple of bombing missions, you know, Keith, I still have the sense that if the war is not over, it's 98 or 99% over.
I think you're right. You know, and instead of going to the Punic Wars, I'll go back to the American Civil War. When Sherman went into the South, he made sure when he burned all the way through Atlanta that if you were a crow carrying food, you had to carry it with you because you weren't going to find any. There's an American way of war, and the Iranians are now experiencing an American way of war. And I look at Dan Kane, and I heard him today when he had his press conference. It is so impressive, Larry, at what we're able to do. And the Russian equipment and the Chinese equipment that they've given them hasn't deterred us at all. So I would say that the war is almost over. There's very few targets to be hit. I would go back there and say the last thing we're going to do is we're going to deprive you of your economic lifeline. That's Carg Island. We'll take it, and then you're finished. And we're talking about crows flying, carrying their own food. Here we go again. It's the American way of war.
All right. General Keith Kellogg, we appreciate it, sir. We appreciate your time. Thank you for helping us, as always.
Thanks, Larry.
All right.